The smaller you are, the better engagement you should have. If your engagement is not working, you need to work out why. I see a lot of creators working as broadcaster rather than connectors. There's a lot of misconception between celebrity marketing and influencer marketing. Celebrities are broadcasting their life on social media because they have fan space that they bring from other places. They are able to then sustain that. When you're a content creator, you need to create that fan base in a way that is sustainable for you over time.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Blitz Growth. Super excited to have an amazing guest for you today. He is the king of content and video marketing expert. Joseph is the founder of Rubelli Digital and co-founder of Digital Bosses. He's been making content for many years. He's been able to crack the code on one of the hardest niches, creating video content for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for service-based businesses and content creators. So Joseph, thank you so much for joining.
Most welcome, Jack. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Very good. So first up, I would love to just get a quick kind of intro from you on sort of how you introduce yourself when you go to an event or introduce yourself at a party or whatever you do. Like, what do you do, and how do you provide value to all the people that you kind of work with? I know you've got an agency, you've got a podcast, you've got a bunch of different things going on. But yeah, how do you kind of like summarize all that into a sentence?
Sure. I am a video and content marketing expert, and I am also a social media manager. What I do, I help businesses to create impact with videos and content marketing, one piece of content at a time. I think that's the best way to describe it in a nutshell.
Nice. I love that because, yeah, everything's moving towards video. So, whether you're a content creator or a business, either way, you've got to be producing pretty high quality video, especially with TikTok on the scene now, where you need to add a lot more entertaining factors. But we'll dive into that in a minute. I would love to know how you kind of got started in this. Like, what made you become an expert in this area? What made you put in all those hours? What made you want to really study the effectiveness of video marketing and content marketing?
Absolutely. So I have over 10 years of experience in sales and marketing. I started working in sales when I was 18. I started in the beauty industry, and I worked in retail for a little bit. And then I moved to London from Italy. I was born in Venice in Italy, and I moved to London when I was 20. And I decided to go into sales. And then my passion was always marketing. The born of social media really made me realize how much I love creating content. And it's something that I always done since I was a kid because I always loved writing, and everything started from that. One of my first jobs was being a radio broadcaster. I've been a radio broadcaster in Italy for one of the first online radios at the time. Now that has been sold and became a big thing. But at the time I was at university broadcasting radio for the students, and it was really fun. And I was talking about celebrity commentary, and it was my very first type of content. I always liked the idea of connecting with people all over the world, and being an Italian living in Italy and passionate about speaking in English and learning the language, that was a very good way to connect with people. So when I started working in the beauty industry, I started with sales, and then I talked to my boss and I said, listen, we don't have a presence on social media. I think social media could be a very big thing for us. I think it could be a great way for us to leverage the brand. And he didn't really know what I meant by then. So I said, listen, I've been working things out on social media, and I wanted to give it a try to the company and see if I could do it for a company. So I said, I'm going to present you a business plan for marketing and social media. I'm going to present it to the marketing director at the time. And I said, if you like it, that's great. I can get the job as a social media executive. If you don't, I'm going to go back to do what I do. And I was a sales coordinator, and then I became a sales manager. And I did my presentation. They liked the idea. They liked the creativity spin that I gave to that, and they gave me the role. I became a social media executive. Then I was a social media manager. Then I became an influencer marketing coordinator. So my job was to recruit the influencers, to negotiate the brand deals, and to create the campaign with the creators. So there was a lot of negotiation skills that you needed, as well as having the knowledge of where to find the right creators, what that looks like when it comes to a partnership. So I learned a lot in that role. And then it wasn't until I worked for that company for around 5 years, and then I moved to a different job, which was a brand management job. So I was responsible for the business development of this American skincare brand for the UK Italy, Germany, and the Middle East. So I was traveling a lot, and my job was a hybrid between sales and marketing. And I
Hmm.
always loved the fact that I came from sales because I understand marketing better. There's no better way for you to learn how to sell. There's nothing better than learning how to sell by being in the sales site and do it
Hmm.
yourself, and then go back and understand how to attract that person in the first place. So there was a lot of corporate experience. And then in 2018, my company asked me to move to Dubai permanently, and I didn't want to do that. I did a little shift and I went there for a little bit for work, and it was fun, but I didn't want to move permanently there. So I decided to
Yeah.
quit and I decided to start working for myself. And I initially
Nice.
did consulting for startup skincare companies because I have the experience and I have the credibility because I work in beauty for so long. And then
Hmm.
I slowly but surely branched out, and my revenue was split between brand deals, which I was
Hmm.
doing as a travel content creator. So I will approach a hotel
Nice.
and I would say, listen, I will create content for you. We can negotiate a deal, and I then will go there, create content, have a holiday out of it, and then also um, you know, create credibility around the brand. So I did it for hotels, and then I started to do it for also different industry. I did food and beverage, and then I
Hmm.
did beauty. And when I started my agency in 2020, I wanted to pivot because COVID gave me an opportunity to understand that a lot of companies then more than ever needed content marketing. So I
Mm.
started to work initially by myself, and then I started to have a little team. And the way I pivot my page, I grow my Instagram. I started in 2017. I started with travel
Hmm.
content, and it was like a diary. We were way before videos, way before stories, and I was
Hmm.
sharing like a little blog. Each picture was a story, and it was a storytelling approach that I wanted to have. But it wasn't until I started to talk about marketing on my stories when they launched stories that I started to gain
Mm.
credibility. And then I started the
Interesting.
podcast, which was a cup of joe, and it was a cup of coffee with me, where we talk about business and life. And
Mm.
that allowed me to gain credibility because I was interviewing people in the industry that didn't follow me, but they
Mm.
liked the way I interviewed because it was very personal, very strategic, and that allowed me to build my credibility and trust in the industry. And
Mm.
then when I launched Rubelli Digital in 2020, we were focusing on creative marketing, and
Mm.
we were focusing on social media management, content creation, and video. And my shift on social media was with the beginning of Reels in 2020. I started
Mm.
to talk about Reels in 2020. And the reason why is because video was one of my biggest fear.
Hmm.
I not a native English speaker, and I wanted to show up as a leader on camera, but I wasn't really sure that I was showcasing my expertise to the degree that I deserved. So I started
So
to,
before that, so just before all of that, before 2020, that was all image-based content. And then in
yeah,
2020, you shifted to video-based content.
yes, I was doing a little
Hmm.
bit of video with stories because, of course, there were stories. So I was doing a little bit of content training on stories, and people liked it. And the video side was not as user friendly down on Instagram, and it was
Hmm.
always very, you had those IGTV at the time that wasn't really working, or you had stories that were disappearing. But I could see a benefit of video, and I wanted to start YouTube at the time.
Hmm.
And so everything kind of fell into place when I started to do more video content. And
Mm.
Reels gave me the big shift, and that's where the audience really grow. And we really skyrocketed in terms of engagement and in terms of community. That's where we went from content creation to a community building strategy, really,
Mm.
because the community now is what I call the tribe, and they're very
Yeah.
loyal because some of them have been there since the beginning and they've seen the pivoting. And, that's why I always say, you don't, that's why I disagree with the niching down at the very beginning, because you have to
Hmm.
test it. One of the foundation of marketing is testing, optimizing, repeating. And if you
Hmm.
don't test, you don't know. So you can put your effort and niche down at the very beginning, or you can be a little bit more creative and test things out. And what I mean
Mm.
by testing is different format, different styles. You might have 3 or 4 industries that work, and you can test them out and see which one sticks. And then there is a lot of confusion when it comes to that. A lot of creators feel that they can only share one type of content, or vice
Hmm.
versa, they feel like that only sharing one thing is holding them back and
Mm.
they don't see the bigger picture. But what kept really consistency for me was learning how to create the content I would like to see in the voice that my audience would like to hear.
Mm.
And it took years of practice and, working with different industry allowed me to think outside of the box, because marketing a personal brand and a person is very different from marketing a product. So
Hmm.
I came from product marketing, which was in skincare, and then I have to market myself. And I'm not a cream. So, it didn't really work that way. So I had to find a different way. And yeah, so when Rubelli Digital was really a game changer for me because I established myself as an agency. I started to branch out, and now we do content marketing for dentists, for lawyers, for accountants, for
Hmm.
finance. I did different type of marketing, and even industries that you would never think they need a content creator behind it. They really do.
Mm.
And the difference, however, when you run a page as a content creator versus a business owner is the
Hmm.
biggest shift that I learned in this journey. And then
Mm.
I found along the way a business partner named Claire, and we came from a similar background but different,
Hmm.
and we decided to branch out and create a branding agency as well. So we have Digital Bosses, which is our branding agency. We only work with specific industry in fashion and beauty and health and
Hmm.
fitness, and that's only for brand development. So
Mm.
um, yeah, so there's a lot of things that I did in the last 5 years and a
Mm.
lot to cover really, but the short version is this.
No, that's great. And it's interesting. So your first money that you ever made online was actually doing brand deals with the hotels. And then you were like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. Let's sell this service to other people. Um, and you've along the way kind of built a team to help you execute on that. For these businesses, like I think this applies for businesses and people. What are some kind of tips in terms of building a tribe or building that community? Because I feel like building the community and the tribe is, the hot topic right now. Everybody's trying to build a community because, community is so much more valuable than kind of anything else that someone can create on social media right now. So what's sort of your take on building a community or a tribe? Should individuals do it? Should companies do it? What are some tips for actually doing it? What's some value that you've seen out of maybe some of the brands you work with in terms of using your strategies to create a tribe or a community? What are they getting out of it?
Absolutely. I want to touch down on the point that you mentioned at the beginning, which was landing brand deals at a very early stage. And I want to share this because it's important. I started to land brand deals when I was on 8,000 followers, which will be nowadays the
Mm.
equivalent of maybe 1,000 on Instagram because um, the algorithm changed so much. It was
Inflation.
so much easier. Exactly. It was so much easier to learn in the past, to pardon me, to grow in the past. So the biggest thing that companies and brands and personal brands can get from the community is the fact that you have a tribe of people that support you. And the way for you to do that is to be able to meet your audience where they are and
Hmm.
really do some research around who follows you, who these people are, investing time on get to know the people behind the screen. And that
Hmm.
sounds really cheesy, but it's really true. In
Mm.
reality, I see one of the biggest mistakes that companies do and content creators do. They spend so much time on creating content to grow new followers, but they don't worry about the ones they already have. There's always a
Yeah,
number in their
interesting.
head that people have. I need to get to this amount. And what is
Hmm.
really fascinating to me, I speak with businesses that have been in the industry for 20 years, 25 years.
Hmm.
And when you talk about social media, it always goes down to the number of followers they have. And it looks to me like the only worth they have in there. And I'm like, well, you have literally an email list with 25,000 people and you
Yeah.
worry about Instagram. I mean, I get it, but there is so
Mm.
much more than the number and the follower count. It's really about creating a community where people can relate. And, we have seen a big shift thanks to TikTok in 2020,
Mm.
which was relatability over perfection. And the way I like to describe this is that you need to replace perfection with connection. And
Mm.
this
Okay.
happens over time. I would say when you are creating content, you need to find a schedule that works for you. There are so many people telling you should be posting every day. And realistically, the more you post, the more you grow. But you need to be able to do it in a way that works with your routine. Is that your
Mm-hmm.
only job? And, when I was doing brand deals, I still had a side hustle. I was working
Yeah.
on Instagram as a side hustle. It wasn't my full-time income yet. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always about creating something that's sustainable for you. And every situation is different. And I will
Mm.
say, you have to work on your content strategy and have the main topics and the main pillars you're going to talk about and understand how can you do this in a sustainable way. And yes, you
Mm.
will pivot because we all do, and you will change, but realistically, just try to be an authentic voice. I don't like to overuse the word authenticity. Authenticity doesn't mean that you have to go on Instagram in your pajama, because you will never see me
Mm-hmm.
doing that, even if I'm authentic. But it's one of those things. There is so much white noise with the word authenticity, when in
Mm-hmm.
reality, it's really about sharing a piece of content without worrying too much about the outcome, and try to get a feedback from it and try to see if it works. I
Mm.
try many things over the years. Some things that I didn't even think about could work, they did. But what I learned, and the biggest lesson I could share, is that there is a lot of focus on the quality, the camera, especially with YouTubers or Twitchers. I work with a lot of Twitch creators as well. And they say, oh, you
Mm.
need to have the best camera, the best microphone. And I'm like, you can have the best camera, you can have the best microphone. If the
Mm.
content is crappy, it will be crappy
Doesn't
in
matter.
4K. It doesn't matter.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I do. Yeah. I think everybody's talking about their gear constantly because it's an easy topic to talk about. But when you talk about researching your audience, I think this is great because I don't think many people do this at all, really understand who their customer is. Do you kind of do surveys? You just look at Instagram insights? What's the best way people should be learning about their audience?
There are many ways to do so, and this is a great question. You can do it, I do it actually in three main ways. The first thing, when it comes to market research, I ask specific question about, maybe it's really a reverse psychology. You need to think about where you want to go. Why are you on
Hmm.
social media in the first place? Is it because you want to launch a clothing brand? Is it because you want to launch a coaching service? Is it because you want to launch an agency? Is it because you want to be a content creator? If that, what does that mean? Which industry, which focus, which
Mm.
particular content and topics are you going to talk about? So all these questions can be used on survey on Instagram stories, or, on as a call to action for your audience. Ask your audience what they would like to see next and try to take notes. Another
Mm.
way is to use tools that allow you to analyze the audience. And I did this when I started to work with brands more continuously. I wanted to, I didn't have a million followers, but I knew I had
Mhm.
people that were valuable in the audience. And this is the big shift that I always try to educate everyone to do. Thinking about quality over quantity. Your worth
Mm.
is not relevant in terms of number. I
Mhm.
made a $22,000 deal with 9,000 followers just because the content was
Mm.
right. And the
Nice.
reason why is because I was providing value in the content I was doing. And, you can have 1,000 people. I have a client, it's a clothing brand. They're very, very tiny on Instagram. They have 1,800 followers. But here's the deal,
Mhm.
all of those people are clients already. So that's a very
Mm.
hot audience, you know,
Mm.
and it's way more valuable than the 5K followers that they had before the account was blocked and restricted or whatever. So
Mhm.
the way for you to do it is to understand what these people do. Where do they live?
Mm.
I did a research which was very interesting a couple of years ago, where I've been able, through a tool, to understand how much my audience earn per year and how old
Mm.
are they, and why these things are important. As a creator, when you are landing a brand deal, when you're pitching a company to work with you, to pay you to create the content, they
Mm.
pay you not because you're pretty, but because you have an audience that actually is are the main peers they want to sell to. Think about
Mm.
like an advertising magazine, right? So you pay for a placement in a specific page because you're going to get specific peers there. It's
Mhm.
the same thing in content marketing for social media. Your page is a billboard for them to advertise. And if you're able to sell it in the right way, you need to
Mm.
know what you're selling and what's in there. So having
Mhm.
the income, for example, how much people earn, it's very important, because if you are deciding and positioning yourself for which company you want to collaborate with, you can understand whether you are more of a entry-level price or more of a luxury price. If you
Mm,
have a high-end designer that you want to work with, but your audience doesn't earn more than a specific amount per year, they might not be able to afford that product. So for the company, it's not worth the money. The return of investment is not great. So
mm,
all the things I learned when I was working in corporate, because I was on the other side, I was
yeah.
researching which influencer were right for us as a company.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn a lot of that, and there's a lot of value on this data. And when you present yourself with that data, the amount of value that you bring to that meeting is already higher than just saying, oh, okay, I have 150K followers, which
Mm,
if you have is great, but you can actually still make money without them.
mm. Okay, so the main takeaway here is it's not about your follower count. It's really about the likeness between the influencer or account and the brand or product. So, both sides, like brands listening can be like, okay, let's not go for the expensive influencers or the massive influencers. Let's go for the ones that have a very high percentage of their followers meeting our criteria on, age, demographic, interest, all that sort of stuff. And then if you're an influencer pitching to brands, you need to show them that their ideal customer are already following you. Is that kind of the easiest way to explain it to the listeners for a brand side and then a consumer side, a brand side and then an influencer side?
Absolutely, yeah. And it is really down to what the main goal is. I have been in a situation where company contact me to work with me to create a piece of content. And the first
Mm,
question is, what's your main goal? Is it awareness? Is it conversion? Is it
mm,
engagement? What are you trying to gain? Often brands don't know what working with creators look like because they never done it. So there's a lot of
mm,
knowledge that you need to have because you are what you sell, right? If you are pitching a company, you're asking for a specific compensation, you need to be able to back that up with some knowledge. And I negotiated a brand deal a couple of days ago, and the reason why it worked really well is because we divided the campaign into different stages, from
mhm,
awareness to engagement to lead generation to conversion. So
mm,
we're going to have a specific series of posts in the page, and they all have different purposes.
mm,
So, with that being said, once we send a report to the company and say, this is what we did and this is what you
mm,
got, they are able to track whether there was a good return of investment for them or not. And it
mm,
is a very business driven way of looking at things. But if you're looking to make this your business and to make this your main revenue stream, you need to treat it as a business. And I think a lot of
mm,
creators get really lost in this part. And yes, you can have an agent. Yes, you can have all of that. But if you are at the very early stage of your career, you might not have the actual revenue yet to be able to justify that cost. So you need to be able to learn those things yourself. And
mm,
there is so much learning you can do online, and it's very important to take that into consideration, which is why I also coach for this, which is really
mm,
important because there is so much lack of knowledge on this topic.
mm. No, interesting. And then if, a content creator was kind of trying to get more serious about this side hustle and trying to close more brand deals, what would you say they should focus on most? So it sounds like, really understanding who your followers are is number one. What are some other things you think content creators should focus on to be more attractive to brands?
Absolutely. Engagement first. Your
Hmm.
engagement, it's super important. You might have a small account with incredible engagement. The smaller you are, the better engagement you should have. If your engagement is not working, you need to work out why. Also, reciprocity.
Mm,
Nobody's going to come to you just from a place of casuality. You need to be able to connect with the people you would like to get engagement from. So there's a lot of work on the interaction. I see a lot of creators working as broadcaster rather than connectors. They need to be
mm,
able to you need to work on the community management side. So if somebody comment, you need to comment back. If
mm,
somebody send you a message, reply to them. There's a lot of misconception between celebrity marketing and influencer marketing.
mm.
Celebrities are broadcasting their life on social media because they have fan space that they bring from other places. They are able
Yeah.
to then sustain that. When you're a content creator, you need to create a fan base in a way that is sustainable for you over time. So community
Mm,
is the first thing. The second thing is the quality of the content. So make sure you find a way to make quality content. And what I mean by quality content, it can be as simple as doing it in front of a window and have the light instead of doing it in the office with all the blinds closed. Try
Mm,
to create content that is interesting and create content that you would like to see. Think about what is that you would like to see more of. For example, in 2020, I wanted to see more commentary style of content on my niche. Nobody was
mm,
talking about marketing and video marketing and social media in a fun way. Everybody was really serious. So what I did
mm-hmm,
was more having a little mini microphone and do videos with that. And that became a trend that then expanded on TikTok as well
mm,
in later on. And I was making a type of commentary with a green screen. And it was fun, it was sarcastic, it was witty. I think find the right balance for you between content that is interesting to you and how it can be interesting to your audience as well. And it's really about testing. Then
mm,
testing different formats. Don't hide behind the screen. A big thing is, as a creator, I will say, don't do only content where you don't speak. Do
mm,
talking reels, talking videos. Have a little bit of mix between vlogs, content where you speak, have a little bit of a play with styles. It's very important because when a brand is coming to you, they need to see the identity of your personal brand behind the screen.
mm-hmm,
It can't just be pictures of you or like lifestyle content alone. It has to have some substance behind it. So
mm,
definitely that's the second advice I can share. The third
yeah,
one, it's about making sure you are consistent with your message. That doesn't mean posting every day. It means if you are speaking in a specific way, let's say you are someone who leverage humor instead of being serious. Brilliant. Go with that and try to inject humor even when you talk about something serious. Or opposite, if you are a professional, try to be professional even in a topic that isn't professional. Let's say you are talking about, let's make an example. You're talking about marketing, you are in my niche, and Barbie came out with a new movie as we record this. Great. Do an analogy. How can we learn branding from Barbie? Brilliant.
mm,
You're
yeah,
talking about a trend and then you link it to that. And think about what's your end goal. I think that's the biggest one as well. Understanding where you want
mm,
to go and how to get there more than try to test and see, figure it out later. That's the mistake I
yeah.
did.
Yeah, no, I love tying it into trends. I do see those videos quite often, people being like, hey, what we can learn from XYZ, whether it's a movie, a person, a story, whatever it is. No, it's awesome. And then um, I know we're coming up on time here, but Joseph, where can everybody find out more about you? So, what you do, how to help with content, how to check out some of your content, all that sort of stuff. Where can we find and learn more about you?
Absolutely. So I am Joseph Rubelli on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere. TikTok, Threads now, very popular. And I would say if you want to work with me, the best way is to go to my website, www.rubellidigital.com, and shoot me an email from there. Or even better, just go on Instagram and shoot me a DM and I'll reply to you.
Nice. That is a great tip as well, replying to every comment and message if you're a content creator versus a celebrity broadcaster. I love that analogy. I did see a few of your Instagram posts on Threads. What's your opinion on starting new channels? Should everybody jump on and start a new channel, or should they focus on the channels that they're already on? Is it shiny object syndrome? What's your take on Threads and new
Great
channels?
question. So I will say it's a bit of both. There's definitely the FOMO. Everybody feels like they need to try the new toy. And at the recording of this podcast, we are 2 weeks in with Threads and we've seen different scenarios. We've seen people that love it, people
Hmm.
that join already left it, people that neglected the 5 years of Instagram audience they built because the new toy is there. So they just feel like it's cooler there. And a lot of research from my perspective to understand as a business owner which industries are worth their time there or not. So I would
Mm,
say Threads to me is worth it as a service-based
hmm.
business. So as a creator, I think you should be on Threads. A lot of people compare it to Twitter. I personally disagree. The only thing that is similar to Twitter is just the interface and the way it looks. You
Mm,
have an audience on there that it's the audience base of Instagram. and you have the opportunity to connect with the audience that you haven't been able to connect with in a long time on Instagram. All those people that the algorithm didn't show you for the last 20 years, you can connect with them now, and you can build
Wow.
a new connection on there. I feel there is a lot of potential with that, and I think Threads started what I call a social media content revolution. We're going to move towards a type of content that is more quick, also less curated, and text is coming back. And I think if you're
Mm,
someone who is looking to try to invest more time into the copywriting side of the business, so write really quirky copy, try to write a captivating caption, that's where Threads can really shine. So if you're someone that
mm,
has a really good sense of humor, I have about 10 years of sarcastic humor that I never used on Instagram, and now it's coming out on Threads. And, I was a bit scared of the way this was going to be perceived, but in reality, it actually contributed in my engagement and contributed on my Instagram growth as well. So
mm,
a big part of Threads is that your audience on Threads is not your warm audience. The people that comment all the time on your Instagram might not be on Threads yet. So I would
mm,
say depends on what you do, but
mm,
try to comment more than you post on Threads. Comments
mm,
are leveraged and getting pushed more than r- actual threads that you share yourself. And the reason why
mm,
is because the value and the main value of Meta as a business for Threads is connection. So they
mm.
looking to
Conversations.
get the conversation going that wasn't happening on Instagram. So my prediction for Threads is that for corporate businesses that are more serious,
Mm,
sorry, let's do this again. Corporate businesses that are more serious, I would say, you're never gonna follow a lawyer on Instagram, are you? You're never gonna
mm,
follow probably an accountant on Instagram because it's a
yeah.
bit boring. But you can have a really cool voice on Threads and make it fun. And so
Mm,
there are service-based businesses that can really benefit from it. I think for product-based businesses, so if you are an e-commerce, invest time on getting your tone of voice as a company right and play with the humor on Threads and create some brand awareness. The
mm,
shopping experience on Threads is not there because it's not a shopping platform yet. Instagram is a
yeah.
place where people buy. Threads is
Mm,
not yet. So I can see this platform growing, and I'm very
mm-hmm.
excited to see what's going to happen. I consider myself a Threads student. I'm not a Threads expert. Everybody that call themselves expert after 2 weeks, red flag. But I would say it's quite funny what I'm doing with the tribe now. I have a video a week
Mm,
where I just share what I learned that week about the platform. And it is a
mm,
learning experience with the audience, and we'll learn together. And it's really fun to hang out.
mm. No, that's really cool. I do love that. Yeah, maybe more B2B and then Instagram more B2C sort of thing. Um, yeah, super interesting. But yeah, Joseph, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it.
You're very
And
welcome. It was a pleasure.
shared amazing things. Everybody go check out Threads now.
Exactly. Follow me there. Same name, same handle. You go.
Thanks, Joseph.
You're welcome.
Hey guys, we put a bunch of effort into making great content for this YouTube channel. So please hit subscribe, leave us a comment, hit like, and tell a few friends about it.